Hi, everybody. This is Israel Silva, and welcome to the Increase Your Income Challenge. Increase Your Income Challenge. And so I'm so excited today to be working on going over this with you. And it's really, we're in week 4 of the Increase Your Income Challenge. So welcome to this challenge. I hope if you've missed the first 3 weeks, you can go to our YouTube channel and see the past lessons. This lesson is focused on self-control, but the title of the lesson is called Defeat the Villains. Defeat the Villains. And we're going to talk about that today and how to defeat the villains. So the question for you, and you can chat if you want to chat in there and join the chat. What are the bad habits, the distractions, and the associations that are keeping you from your success, from keeping you from success in achieving your goals, success in your vision? So you have to think about that. Now, I have a picture here, a graphic that says the bad and the good. Now, in the bad, you might be scrolling through your news feed on Facebook or Instagram purposelessly. If I can say that right, purposelessly. You don't have a purpose. You're just scrolling time and time, spending time. And you're like, oh my gosh, 30 minutes just went by. An hour just went by. I was just trying to catch up on everybody on Instagram. I need to see what the guy was eating for dinner. I need to see where he went on vacation or she went on vacation. Whoa, look at that new purse. Oh my gosh. So you have purposelessly been scrolling. But that is the bad. Now, on the good side, you could be planning your calendar, planning what you're going to do. So that's the bad. And you could be doing the good. Another one is spending on impulse, spending the money. Oh, I want to buy this, want to buy that. Oh, I'm going to Buc-ee's. I'm in Buc-ee's, so I have to buy something because, the restrooms are so clean. I have to buy something. Or the good would be following a spending plan, knowing exactly how much you're spending, where, and why. So those are some things, okay? So in the chat, you can start thinking about this if you want to share with our group what is the things that are holding you back. Now, another one, the bad, nightly eating ice cream. And I have to raise my hand on this one. I was in a habit of eating ice cream every night. It was always there. And I just had to have ice cream every night because that was the dessert. You dessert after dinner. But then I stopped and said, no, I need to be the good, intentionally eating healthy. Intentionally eating healthy. And so that's why I stopped buying ice cream and I just on occasion will buy it. And so that is what, the bad and the good. Another one is socializing with negative people. If you go to a barbershop and you sit around a barbershop, eventually you're going to get a haircut. If you get around negative people, eventually you're going to be negative too. So that's the bad. Now the good is meeting with a mentor, meeting with someone who's going to encourage you. Another one, the last one here for the bad is remaining ignorantly isolated. That means you're not even trying to learn anything. You're just isolated, doesn't want to learn anything. Now, the good could be learning in a community, just like you're doing right now. So again, my question to you, what are the bad habits? What are the distractions? What are the associations with people or organizations that are preventing you from success, keeping you from reaching and achieving your goals? That is the question. Okay. Now, we are in the Increase Your Income Challenge, and there's a few rules here that I want to go over with you. The rules for the challenge are, number 1, you have to use the content, use community, and use the challenge game format. The content is in these lessons, and this is lesson 4. There's 3 other lessons. The lessons and the content are free for you to use on YouTube. Now, the community, that is what you can pay to be in our Financial Champion community, or you can just be associated, get some friends, get some family members, and do the lessons together with them. You have to go and bring that community together. The third thing is the challenge format, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we're going to do this challenge with a game format that has, 8 steps in it. So I want to go over those with you. Now, the second rule to this challenge is to track your progress. And that is really important because you need to score your activities. If you planned out 5 and you got 4 completed of the 5, that's 80%. That's a good score. And so you score yourself throughout the challenge, and that is important. The third thing is help each other. As iron sharpens iron, people sharpen people. And you can help others, and that's how you're going to get better And by helping, encouraging others, they hopefully will help encourage you. And so that is why community is important. And the last one is celebrate your victories. That is so important. Plan out your celebrations, and then when you reach your milestones, when you reach your goals, celebrate. And that's so important to celebrate. This is a 90-day challenge, and we're in week 4 of it. There's about 12 weeks to this challenge, and so we're a third of the way. And you may feel like I haven't gotten a lot done yet. That's okay. We got a lot more time to go. Another 8 weeks to go, and now's the time. You're starting to get the small habits. We're talking about that today. So let's go into the first thing. What are you going to do? Today, you are going to learn 2 main points. Number 1 is to identify the villains. Identify those villains preventing your success, keeping you from achieving your goals. Who are they? What are they? How do we address them? That's question number 2, or point number 2 is creating the strategy or the system to defeat the villains. Defeat the villains. So those are the 2 things you're going to learn. So are you ready? Are you ready? Because I'm ready to teach, and we got a few minutes to go into this. It's going to be good. Take your notes, get your journals out, and here we go. So the first thing here, identify the villains. Now, there's 5, count them, 5 areas that typically where the villains are going to show up. And I want you to think about these 5. Number 1 is the time villain. Something that sucks up your time. It could be distractions. It could be time you spend maybe not planning your time. Again, going through your Facebook or your Instagram feed and just spending so much time there. Something is sucking away your time. Your vacuum cleaner going, sucking it up. What is that villain? What is it? Is it a person, place, thing? Is it a social media? Is it going to the movies? Is it watching TV? Is it just what is it that you feel? Only you are judging yourself. What is it you feel is a villain that is sucking your time? That you think you have to ask yourself this question. Is this activity that I'm spending time on getting me closer or further from achieving my epic goal, my goals that I set for this 90-day challenge? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Number 2 area to think about when you talk about villains, and that is the environment. Your environment is essential. Is it a growth environment? Is it an environment that maybe there's a villain that's you go to a place and so many distractions, you hear noise, you have people interrupting you, cell phones buzzing, other people are talking, and you just get annoyed and you can't focus and can't concentrate. Maybe you hear people shouting at each other. Well, I'm trying to study here at Starbucks. I'm trying to study here at this library, but it's supposed to be quiet, but it's not really quiet. I hear the drama. Someone's talking about they're breaking up with their girlfriend. Oh my gosh. That is distraction. That environment is going to hinder you. There are villains there that are going to hold you back. That is the second area to think about when you're talking about villains. Your third area is habits. What habits do we have that are holding us back? The habits that we do. If you think about a habit, you do it every day. You brush your teeth. That's a good habit. Always, be after you finish eating. My dentist told me it's actually more important to floss than to brush. I'm like, really? Okay. So I get those little floss sticks and I take those with me everywhere I go. And Monica's always telling me that I'm not helping the environment, so I need to get those little bamboo ones. But anyway, I digress. The habit of using, what is a habit that's holding you back? It could be a bad habit. And again, maybe it's a habit where you spend too much time on something you shouldn't. So it kind of maybe can combine with the time villain. But the habit villain is something that you do and you shouldn't do. Whatever that is, again, only you know it, but you can address that. So we're going to look at different habits and how we can change those. So that's the third villain, your habits. The fourth villain is emotions and how you respond. It's more like your emotional state. Are you angry, frustrated, just you scared, fearful? When you get very emotional, what happens is you get into a state of being where you're not making the best decisions you should make. My wife Monica and we're in the process of building a house, and it is called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue. When you have to make another decision, one decision. Oh, what color do you want the rooms? What kind of fixtures do you want here? What electrical outlets do you want here? Where do you want to place this, your plumbing at? Where do you want to do this? And like, I'm so tired of making decisions. And when you get to decision fatigue, guess what happens? You're like, I don't care anymore. I'm just whatever. Yes, I don't care. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's what happens when you get the emotional state where you've gotten frustrated or you've gotten bitter or angry or just emotional fatigue. I'm so tired. I don't care. Just do whatever. You ever been there? Has it ever happened to you? I'm sure you have. Maybe you've worked all day and you're just tired and someone says, Mommy, can you buy me this? You're like, I don't care. Put it in a basket. It happens. And then we make these decisions that you didn't realize that thing they just put in the basket was like $25 and you just paid for it. Those are emotions. And there can be a villain there that holds you back. The fifth one is associations. Associations with people or organization. What villain hangs around there in your association? What people or organizations are sucking up your time, or maybe you're spending time with them, or they're asking a lot of favors from you and you just cannot afford to help them? Because if you help them, you're hurting yourself. You've heard it before on the airplanes. What do they always say? In the event of an emergency, please, there will be a detached air oxygen mask. Please put the mask on yourself before you put it on the child you're traveling with. If you put it on the child first and you try to help them, you may be struggling to breathe. So you need to take care of yourself first before you take care of others. Make sure you don't have the villain of helping these people who are just so needy. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And you never get around to helping yourself. So that's the associations. So do you recognize any villains in these areas? Now, what are these villains that are holding you back in this 90-day challenge? Think about it. I want you to really dwell on this. You think about it. This is not happening just right now in this 5-minute or this small 10-minute segment. But I want you to stop and plan out sometimes. That's in our action items, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But identify the villains. Once we've done that and we looked at each of these areas, now we want to start defeating the villains. We want to defeat the villains. And number one, we're going to start with establishing a time allocation tool. Okay, so the villain of time, whatever's sucking our time away, we need to understand where is our time going. And I shared with my financial champion community here last week my own spreadsheet that I use where I put blocks of time. And I shared the template with them on that. And I can send you guys a link on this video as well. But the link was just basically a spreadsheet where I put all the blocks of time. And I try to put my time for work, for reading, for exercise, for spending time with the family, and block out time. It's really important. You can put this on a calendar. You can put this on a phone app. You can put this on a spreadsheet. But you need some tool that'll help you be intentional with your time. And so allocate your time using time blocks. And if you're going to put time away, that means that nothing else, back to that distractions, nothing else can distract you there in your time block that you're planning for that task, that activity. So the third one here is use reminders and notifications. Reminders and notifications, you can set an alarm, you can set a 10-minute timer, you can set, like every Thursday I have a notification that tells me I have to take out the trash can for the trash to come on Friday morning. That is something that reminds me. I should be able to remember that, but having that reminder, that notification on my phone reminds me every time. For us, it's every 2 weeks that the recycling truck comes around to pick up a recycling bin. And so every 2 weeks, I have it on my calendar because I forget which week is what. But there in my calendar, it's always telling me when is recycling day. That is why it's so important to have the tools to establish your time allocations, to be intentional with your time. That is one way you can defeat the villain that's stealing away your time. Okay, any questions there? Any questions on that? Okay, No questions so far. All right, looking at my group, environmental. Okay, so let's go to the next villain. How do we defeat this next villain? The one for environment. You want to ensure you work in a productive environment. And there's three things I want you to make sure when you're working is eliminate the distractions and background noises. Go to a place that you know that you're not going to be phone ringing, babies crying, being interrupted by anyone, noise, traffic, sirens, horns. I know if you live in a city, that's sometimes hard to do. But try to go to an environment where if you're going to plan out your activities, make sure you're clear of all these distractions. And number two, be ready with your supplies, your tools, maybe your snacks, so that you don't get up and, I'm so hungry. Because then you get hungry and you stop thinking about what you're doing. And so you need to focus. So have some snacks, have your water aside, and be ready to go. Number three is work in an organized and inviting area. If you go to an area that you're working and it's clutter and there's all these different things there, it's going to distract your mental thinking. And you're like, I got to clean this. I got to do this. And every second, every moment you take away from what you're trying to accomplish to do something else, your mental energy is going somewhere else. And you only have so much. So this is how you defeat this villain that's your environmental villain. And again, we need to work on these things. Make some notes and plan this. It's got to be, the word here is intentional. You have to be intentional. So the next one is be ready. The next villain we're trying to defeat is the habits villain. So the third thing here is establish a small, easy habit that will become, it's going to start off small, start off easy. But with this habit, it will become powerful, effective, and productive. So in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he references other books like Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, and then Small Habits, and there's another book. But when you make these habits, it can be small. So let's say you want to get in shape doing push-ups. I need to follow this one here. But I can't do more than 5 push-ups. Well, then do 5 push-ups. And then do 5 push-ups for a week. Every day, 5 push-ups. You said you can do 5. Yeah, I can do 5. Okay, the next day I'll do 5. Next day I'll do 5. The week after that, do 7. Every day, do 7. Okay, I can do 7. And the week after that, do 10. And the week after that, do 15. And the week after that, do 20. You see, the hardest thing to do is to start. Just like this challenge. The hardest thing was to say, I'm going to commit to the challenge. I'm going to start the challenge. You've got to start. That's the first thing. Inertia will hold you back. Like when I need to go running in the morning with my running group, first, I have a running group. That's good to have one. But the second thing is I need to set aside my clothes, my running shoes, my running clothes, and my work clothes. And I put those in my car because I have gone to running and then I had to come back home because I forgot my work clothes. Put that in my car so I can take a shower at the gym. If all that is set aside, all my work clothes, and I go to sleep at 10:30 p.m., I can get up at 4:30 a.m. and get ready and meet my running group. If I don't put my clothes aside and get everything set up at night, in the morning, I spend too much time trying to do all that, and then it gets too late for me to go run and be on time for work. So that's why it's so important to prepare, to create a small, easy habit of just putting your shoes out, putting your clothes out. That's small. That's easy. Just doing that. Okay, going to sleep at the right time. Just doing that. Preparing yourself. Now, in the context of your financial goals, maybe it's creating the spending plan. Maybe it's determining how much your business is going to need to operate for the next month and looking ahead on what you're going to be buying, how many customer sales you need to make. Now, sales, when you're making sales, that's not something that you can just say, I want to make $1,000 in sales. No, you can't control how much sales you're going to make. You can control how many calls you're going to make. And so if I need to make 1,000 calls to get 1 sale, and I need 5 sales, and that's 5,000 calls in a month to get 5 major sales. Again, that is you're trying to create the habit. And so maybe you're like, oh, 1,000 calls, it's too much. Okay, well, let's start with 10. 10 a day. And then next week, we'll do 20. Work your way up to what you need to get to. It's getting the reps in. Repetition, 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 and you get better and better and better. And that's what you're trying to do here. Establish a small, easy habit that will become a powerful, strong routine that you do over and over. And studies have shown 6 to 8 weeks is really what helps develop that routine. And then the next thing is effective. An effective habit is something that's a good quality habit. So you're doing something that's bringing quality work, quality effort. And so it's not done haphazardly, but you do it with quality so that you can have good results. The people who you're serving, they appreciate the work you're doing because it's good quality. Then that customer will hire you again. Your boss will give you a raise because he expects and he sees quality work. Again, that's really important. And then last was productive, high quantity. You could be the greatest quality, but if they need you to do 10 widgets and you're only doing 2 widgets, sorry, that's not good. So it's got to be a habit that you develop that is productive and also effective and powerful. So those 3 things, that's what you have to develop. A small habit that becomes powerful, effective, productive. So that is how you defeat that villain of evaluate your habits now and think how you can change them, eliminate them, and produce and establish new habits. That is the 3rd one. The 4th one, defeat the villains. This 4th villain of the emotions that you have, the emotional state. I'm saying here is be intentional and protective of your emotional state. I think there's a verse in the Bible that says, guard your heart, because out of your heart is where your plans come out of a person. And so a person plans their steps, but God directs them. And so you're thinking about it right now is you need to be intentional about your emotions, learning how to control them, staying focused and controlling your attitude. It's so important. I have had so many people work with me, and I'm a manager at my job. I've been a manager for years. And to see people I work with who lose their temper, who get angry, and I've done it. I've been guilty. Raise your hand. You guys, you've done it too, right? We've all lost it at one point or another. And we have to ask ourselves, could I have done that differently? Could I have not let that person get the best of me? What could I have done? So some of the things here is you stay focused before you go into a conversation, and it may be a crucial conversation. There's a book called Crucial Conversations, something that you may have some emotions come out of it. Before you go into that meeting, before you go into that discussion, think about what you want coming out of it. Because everything you say in that meeting, at the end of the meeting, you have to say, I came out with X, Y, and Z. Or at least one thing. If nothing else comes out of this meeting, this will come out. So then if they try to make you upset or angry or try to push your buttons, just remember what I'm here for. The objective of this meeting is to get X, Y, and Z. When you're focused and you control your attitude, better things will come out of this meeting. And again, this is the whole category of self-control. It's part of this lesson. One thing you need to do to defeat the villain that is in your emotions is to avoid temptations. That's really important. If you know that a certain area or a certain person or a certain place or a certain time of the day is going to tempt you to do something that you don't want to do or you shouldn't do, then you need to avoid those temptations. Avoid going to that place. Avoid getting on the internet or at that hour, or find someone who can help you avoid that temptation. And that's the thing, flee the temptation, get away from it, and just don't go there, because that's how you can control the situation by not putting yourself in a bad predicament. So think about what you're doing. Think about what your actions are. Think about the emotional villains that people get you upset. When do you get angry? When do you get frustrated? When do you get tired? When do you get decision fatigue? Think about those times and how do you avoid them? How do you plan to avoid them? What is it you can do? If you're going to Buc-ee's and you're spending all this money because you go in there and you're like, oh, I got to spend, what can you do? Well, I know that I'm going on a trip next week and I'm going to prepare my goodie bag and my travel bag and have all those things ready. So when I get to Buc-ee's to put gas and use the restroom, I say, thank you, Buc-ee's, for a clean restroom and for the gasoline. But I have my own snacks. I have my own things. Okay, you prepare. Avoid the temptation. The last one is use techniques. Breathing techniques, maybe positive affirmations that you say to yourself. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I'm good. People like me. You say that to yourself first. You believe in yourself first. And sometimes breathing is important. Breathing is essential to life. And if you don't, if you ever recognize when you get upset or angry or frustrated, you're like, start breathing shallow. If you're scared, if you're frustrated. And when you do those short breaths, full oxygen doesn't get to where? It doesn't get to your brain. If you don't get oxygen to your brain's not going to be in a good state to make good decisions. So it's so important, so important to be calm, to control your emotions, and to make decisions when your emotions are not influencing that decision. So that is the villain of the emotions, the villain of the emotional state. The last one, how do we defeat this villain? The associations. It's to have strategic associations. So important. You work with people. You are a person. And if you work with people enough, eventually these people may encourage you or they may upset you and discourage you. So it's so important that you evaluate your associations. Who are the people you're spending your time with at work? How do you spend your time with your family? Think about this. Be strategic about who you spend your time with, who you hang out with, who you associate with, because in 5 years, you are going to be the same person except for two things. The information you've learned and read, understood, and two, the people you have associated with over those 5 years. The relationships you have engaged with over those 5 years. 5 years from now, you will be a different person based on what you've learned and who you have associated with. If your business is going to go higher and become better, it's not because you hang out with negative people who don't like to do work and they're lazy. No, it's because you hang out with people who have a vision for success, are hard workers. They want to network. They want to help you so that you can help them and you work together. Again, it's the associations. They're vital. They're so important. Think about growing up. You couldn't have success without your parents, without your guardians, the people who helped raise you, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, people who helped you along the way. Maybe they gave you a scholarship, people who you don't even know, who provided for you. That is those associations. So you evaluate those. And then two more things. You prune the negative. Any negative people or any negative associations or organizations, you prune those out. Get rid of those things. And you plan time with those that encourage you and inspire you. Maybe watch a message by someone who encourages you and inspires you, lifts you up, and gets you going. We'll be talking about that in the future, those power-ups. And we'll talk about that in our future lessons on how to get those power-ups developed. But that is important to defeat the villains. Those are the 5 things you need to focus on. Was the first one, again, was time allocation tool. The second one was productive environment. The third one was habits that are easy and become strong, effective, and powerful. Effective and productive. And that fourth one was your emotional state, controlling your attitude, controlling your emotions. And this fifth one, strategic associations. Those are the 5 areas that you can have villains. And those are the 5 strategies you can take to defeat the villains. Now, all of this comes back to our challenge. Do this challenge, this 90-day increase your income challenge, in a format that makes it a game. So we've already started the challenge. That was step 1. And we've already asked you to set goals for the 90 days. If you haven't done it, you still can do that. Set some goals. It doesn't have to be 20 goals. It could be 2 goals, 3 goals. I want to increase my income by 5,000. I want to get this much revenue of business. I want to establish X, Y, and Z by the end of this challenge. So that is your epic goal. The third one was complete the activities and the quest. So what we're doing today is one of those activities. I'm going to give you some action items right now to do those action items, to complete those action items, to take score, monitor, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the coming lessons, but to monitor your actions. We talked about that in our last lesson. So go back and look at lesson 3. Now, collect and activate power-ups, defeat the villains. That's what we're talking about today. Defeat the villains. Forgot that one. And you need to work on those. And in our future lessons, we'll talk about the other ones, collect and activate power-ups, recruiting allies. You can start doing that now, but we'll talk more about how that helps, adopting a secret identity, and celebrating the victories. So this is the game format challenge. We want you to follow this in this 90-day challenge. If you do this, you will achieve your goal. Now, here's your action items. Okay, write these down. Take a screenshot of this. Set aside a block of time and identify the villains preventing your success. A block of time could be an hour, could be 2 hours. Probably that's all you need. But set a time, block out the time to identify the villains, and then also establish a strategy that you're going to use to defeat the villains in each of these areas. What are you going to do? Establish a strategy for each villain you need to defeat to achieve your current goals for this challenge. So I put this in a time-bound frame. Maybe you have a ton of villains. Okay, but what villains do you need to defeat in the next 90 days or in this challenge of 12 weeks? We got 8 more weeks left. So what do you need to do? What villains do you need to focus on, then create a strategy on to defeat them so that you will develop the good habits, develop the good associations, get the right environment, and make sure you're putting your time allocated correctly. All these things, this is where you create the strategy. This is where you start to win. Do these action items. Make this the quest that you do this week. So again, you can join us at a Financial Champion community. Financial Champion Academy or financialchampion.net is our website. You can also sign up for our newsletter on financialchampion.net. We'd love to keep sending you information, articles that we're trying to work on every week to bring you more information. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson 4, Defeat the Villains. We'll be here back next week. We hope you'll join us and subscribe to our YouTube channel and let other people know that this is how you can increase your income by joining in this challenge. We'll see you next time.